Hey everybody, this is Erman Brody with Get It Made X. Today is Friday, May 15th. Is that correct? May 15th? Wow.
Today's May
14th.
14th, friend. You're already to Saturday. We've jumped so far
Right?
ahead.
Oh my gosh. Where does the time go? Can you believe it's already halfway through 2021?
Oh, the time has flown by. I'm just so glad that we're finally in the back end of the pandemic. We can live our lives again.
There you go. The Zoom thing might be a personal interview in the future. Who knows?
Wouldn't that be awesome? I could hang out in the bachelor pad with the hot model. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Hey, me too.
Absolutely.
But today we have our member of the month for Get It Made X, Nikki Wheeler. Nikki was born and raised in NorCal, but currently resides in Denver. Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you for having me.
I would love to talk about that really quick. Denver. Like, you don't think of Denver and think screenwriting. Like, so how has it been like for you?
So you think about Denver and it's kind of a weird journey. So as you said, I grew up in Northern California. I went to undergrad here in Colorado, and I actually began my professional career in Washington, D.C. So I worked for the United States Senate, and then after my senator retired, I went to work for the governor. Well, my parents bought this house in Colorado. And I'm like, so I went through 4 years of college and couldn't get you to visit, but the moment I leave the state, you bought a house here? So when I retired from politics, I moved back to Colorado. And, you know, when you think about it, Colorado is quite the inspiration for many a great film. I'll offer The Shining. Here you have the space to reflect in nature, to really take from the unique culture and all the different people. And it's pretty inspiring, actually. If you spend a day in Denver, you're going to see 4 different types of weather and meet a gajillion different types of people, all with some great stories to share.
There you go. Eclectic characters in Denver. You can just write a story on, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about, who settled down in Denver. You've got your mix of socialites, cowboys. Think about Dynasty,
Okay.
the oil barons. So you've got quite an eclectic group of people who call Colorado home.
And then you have Nikki, the screenwriter.
Nikki the screenwriter. So Nikki the screenwriter has a full-time day job. So Nikki the screenwriter comes on at 6 and works till about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and then goes to bed so Nikki the regular person can do her day job.
You're telling me screenwriters have day jobs?
Believe it or not, they do not pay us loads of money. It turns out that you gotta be an executive producer or producer. The straight writing gig is not as lucrative as one might think for all the painstaking hours we put into it.
Speaking of producers, have you worn different hats? Have you produced something that you wrote?
So I haven't produced something that I wrote, but I think you all are very familiar with my very good friend and colleague, Alex Moreno. Alex has got to be one of the most generous guys I've ever met. I actually met him through the program, and he put out an open call and said, hey, if you have something you want me to read, send it. So I was brave enough to send him something. All this time later, he invited me to work on and produce this amazing educational series that he's doing called Flow, Future Leaders of the World. I think you guys may have heard him talk about it. It's really incredible work, and they are short introductory films to health topics for youth. So I signed on to produce with the Flow Project. I think I take my own work too personally to produce. I don't know if I'm there yet. I might be too attached to my own work.
Oh, I've heard that sometimes, where it's like the writer shouldn't be on set, the writer shouldn't be producing because they're so attached to it. I mean, I've heard it so many times.
I mean, I've tried to remove myself and kind of look at it from other people's perspective and be open-minded. And then I think it really calls to question for me, maybe I'm not writing that character's line clearly enough so you understand what I'm going for. If I were, then I wouldn't have to be on set to explain it. So it also kind of comes back to own self-reflection about how I'm presenting the work.
Right. Okay. And I would love to know, and I'm sure you get this a lot, what's your genre of choice if you have one? What is it that really inspires you as a writer? What kind of content do you want to make? Is there a specific genre?
I wouldn't say there's one specific genre. I think if I look across the body of work that I have a lot in the dramatic thriller space, but I think I'm hilarious. And so some of the work that I've done has come across, or I've had people who've read it say, this is really probably a better comedy than it is a drama. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, just the lines and how it reads. So there are some, I guess you call them dramatic comedies, but I think about it across the spectrum of life. In
Yes.
any given day in your life, is everything a drama or a thriller? No, you've got some drama, you got some highs, some lows, some comedic moments, some thrilling moments. So I think of it really more as a realistic interpretation of the story of a life versus
Yeah.
one specific genre.
I perked up there because I'm a fan of dramedies, because
Yeah,
life isn't just comedy, life isn't just drama, it's a mixture of both. So I was like, oh my god, she's speaking my language. So
exactly. And if you think about, you know, some of the films that you might be favorites of yours, you know, it's that blend that makes you think, oh my goodness, that was a story worth hearing, a story worth seeing, because oh, it's funny, you know, it's Cats. I laughed, I cried. It was wonderful.
there you go. I love that. I love that. So what are you working on right now, if you can talk about it?
This is interesting. This is a challenging one that I'm working on right now. So I was invited to write a screenplay about a haunted house. And I think that the struggle that I'm having with it is I like a good horror film as much as the next person. I love a good haunted house. That's great. But it's making it realistic. So my greatest criticism when I come away from these movies is always, oh, come on, that is not believable. So as I'm working on this, I'm now struggling to create an entire, you know, story and experience that is believable.
Sorry,
So
was
bless you, bless you.
woo. Talk about an unedited interview. That's my first time. That's the first time ever I sneezed in an interview.
Wow, I'm so glad I could be part of one of your firsts.
Yes, ma'am. As that, thank you so much for. I'm glad it's you and no one else.
I know,
Yeah.
again.
So, but carry on.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm working on right now, is this haunted house feature, and really trying to make it, you know, something that if you go into it, yeah, you're going to have the scares and everything, but do you actually believe the storyline? Do you actually believe this could happen to someone? And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that was scary because I believed it could be true.
Yeah.
So a little less farcical. So I think with this one, I'm kind of getting in my own way because I'm running the traps on believability versus telling the story. So I'm trying to get out of my own head on it to see, you know, if we can get this thing done. I'm only 20 pages in it and it's been like 3 weeks. That's not good.
Oh man, you know what's funny? It's crazy. As a writer, it's like, and then you go back to those 20 pages later, like, oh.
Yeah. You made some choices there and none of them were good.
Oh my gosh, it's always that. I think it's, for me at least, it's always that time where you step away from it for like a week or two, come back to it. Does it still move you? If it does, good. If it doesn't, there's some editing to be done.
Yeah, I'm trying to find at this point I'm coming back to it from the perspective of, you know, spending more time on character development and who these people are,
Yeah,
before I try to put them into the experience or try to put them into the storyline. So I think if I can develop them better as people, you as an audience will have an easier time with the storyline. So
yeah.
I'm trying to look at them that way.
There you go.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So time really flies when I'm talking to you, because
Oh, sorry.
we've been. Oh my god, I don't know. It's almost like what, 10 minutes into the interview, and I was like, oh, I didn't get to the questions yet.
Wait, I
But
thought this was just a chat. It's an interview. I should have taken this more seriously. Oh my goodness. Check my posture.
you're so funny. Wink, wink, cough, cough. See, she mentioned earlier about being hilarious, and it's true. I can vouch. I can personally vouch for your
Thank you.
hilarity, and I'm
I
pretty
think
sure.
I'm hilarious.
I think
People
it does
think, yeah.
translate. I'm pretty sure it translates into your writing. I would love to know, because this is a Get It Made X interview,
Yeah.
what has been the most fulfilling, profound part of being part of the programs for Get It Made X?
That's a wonderful question. And, you know, I over-index on transparency. So I will tell you that when I got the initial invitation from Matt, I went into full-on panic mode. I made like these index cards. I prepped, you know, how I was going to talk to Matt and, you know, how I was going to engage him on the story. And he was just the most down-to-earth, accessible guy. And so in coming into the program, I really can't say enough about the generosity of the collective creative culture.
Right.
Just being able to work with so many people who are so giving of themselves, their time, their talent, and the thoughtfulness which the community brings to the work. So it's just been wonderful, soup to nuts. I've just loved it.
Absolutely. And I'm glad we had a chance to interview you today. And before we go, where can folks find you on social media? Do you have Twitter? Do you have Instagram? Do you have an official site as a writer?
Oh my goodness, I do have an official site as a writer, but believe it or not, this is one of those deficiencies as a writer. I spend so much time writing, I don't spend enough time keeping up with my web maintenance fees. So my official site actually is turned off because the billing lapsed. So, but you can.
Full
True
disclosure.
story. True story. I was like, wait a minute, I have a website. Why isn't it working? They're like, oh, we sent you a notice about this. I'm like, you did? There's a whole separate group working on that. But you can find me on social media, Tricky Nick 127 on what is it? Twitter, Instagram. It's the same.
Tricky Nick 127. N-I-K?
N-I-K.
Tricky Nick. That's a really cool name. Tricky Nick.
It comes from my days in politics where I used to always say, it's tricky, but we can work it out.
I love that. Please tell me you're going to write a story about your political life.
That would be a fun one. I am excited about one thing we can get to chat about. I do have a series that got optioned, so I'm looking forward to that one coming out, and it is as far from political life as can be. It's a fun one called Fabulous, and so I'm not sure when it's going to run, but it did get sold, so that's a positive.
There you go. I know you can't talk too much about it without getting in trouble, but thanks so much for letting us know about Fabulous. So we look forward to seeing that on the small screen.
It is a series, yes.
Okay.
So we won't, yeah. They get real strict about that. I was surprised. I wanted to like tell everyone. They're like, no, shh. I'm like, okay.
I know. Like once the cameras stop rolling, I'm gonna pry a little bit into it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Wink, wink, cough, cough. But Nikki, thanks so much for being with us today, all the way from Denver. I said all the way from Denver as if you traveled far. All the way from Denver, everybody. Nikki Wheeler. And everyone, please check out Get It Made X on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, and of course on the app. So, Nikki, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations for being member of the month for Get It Made X.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.